All right, back from break. Doing, I guess whatever the game wants me to, or we'll figure it out. I know I got the bar now, I believe. That's the last thing we did, was get the bar unlocked. I don't have any of the upgrades for it, so I have like nothing for it really. And that's gonna be a shit ton of money that I do not have. Wait, so, hey Vid, how's it going? So he says 2 weeks in game, but it's 2 days to craft from the IRL timer? Is that the translation? Because every IRL day is a week? I get him. Okay, bring you alcohol. So I give you alcohol and you do things. Okay, sure. Okay, nothing else for that. Is there anything else to do here? Cheap and metallic. Scott's peaty wine, Jen's flowery. I feel like we don't have anything that actually fits that criteria. Fucking playing Stardew Valley now. Gotta find the appropriate gift. Hey Silver, how's it going? Oh wait, so you get to scavenge and I don't? That's not fair. He says smog whiskey, so it's like a particular type of whiskey. Okay. I probably didn't give him the right alcohol. Alright. Nothing else here for now. Back to the main floor. So, the thing on the docket right now is, I think I have literally most of what I need to make the upgrades. It's just a question of money. Yeah, I have all of those. I have all of those. Oh, I actually need wood planks, interestingly enough. Okay. I'll have to keep out an eye for those. Wood planks. Liquid cooling. I have black lights, I have bulbs. So liquid cooling and then wood planks, and then $5 million bazillion dollars, which is gonna be the real bitch. Hey Silva. So I guess the game is basically just screaming at me, I feel like, just to go mech hunting. That kind of feels how it's gonna go. I could do it passively, I could do it actively. Let's just try passive for now. Hey Lewis. I've seen the updates, I haven't played it naturally because I haven't been here. Technically we're on the update now, but the content's locked behind a fully upgraded bar. And we're so thoroughly far away from that from a financial perspective. I would be... not you. I would be surprised if we can even get to the first upgrade of the bar today. If we just spent the whole stream farming money. Like, my opinion is basically this. If you're gonna... Oh god, no, I'm not buying that skin pack. I would love to give them money, but I'm not giving them money for that. That's fine, we don't want any much. We're just looking for mechs to die. And hopefully they do. I feel like there's such a drought of content and things to do in the earlier to middle game that putting all of this content at the end game is just... It's so depressing, I think, for newer players who don't have massive stockpiles of monies or resources. Are you guys tankier than before? I just missed all my headshots. Like, from a progression perspective, both the intermission tower and the bar, the baseline upgrades for them should be way cheaper and easier to get and have more gameplay purpose. Both could be used for quests, for reputation, for, you know, unlocking pieces of content. But right now, they're just this really late game gate saying you don't get to do this cool stuff without paying the time tax. Because that's kind of how I currently view both the foam and the monetary requirements for a lot of these things. It's just a time tax. There's no, like, mastery you're showing from, like, getting there. You're not, like, learning things. The only thing you might be learning is the optimal route to, like, farm the living shit out of foam. Oh, it's, why are you in the ceiling? Alright, well, the drone was slipping into the wall there and shooting us to the wall. Supposed to. It looks like we might only have half the equation here. I could go to actively killing mechs. It's just a lot more high risk because I am basically summoning HKs after or before I actually get to the containers as opposed to after. But, like, yeah, I think I'm gonna need just to farm with grenade launchers. I could play it the slow way and just wait for the actual circumstances to line up perfectly, but, like, that's gonna take even longer. And full of dead runs. So I think the play is get a grenade launcher and just do this manually. And if we get a dog, we get a dog, and we're fucked anyway, so no biggie.
Everyone for themselves.
Oh, XO. I've been well. How are you doing, Jeremy? I enjoyed my holiday break. Now I'm back to, apparently grinding more foam. That's later, though. That's not until the tower. For those unaware, so, like, the personal, like, the bar, I think, was 50 foam. The tower is 100 foam. And if not, and I think more expensive than the bar was, too. So whatever it took you to go farm the bar, double that, and congratulations, you have the tower. Yeah. Oh, drones. All right.
Perfection.
Back home. Let's go get a grenade launcher from Grillo. I don't think this account I have has a lot of stockpiled 40mm, but we'll see. Grenade launcher. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you're enjoying it, I'm happy for you. There's a lot of just monotonous grind in the game right now that I hope eventually gets alleviated in some capacity, or at least made more interesting. Like, going at a rate of, like, I've talked to Little Bro on Discord, and he has, like, an optimized farming route for foam. It basically sounds like it's about 10 to 15 hours for, like, around 50 foam. And that's just, like, assuming, like, let's just basically say, you'll be spending anywhere, depending on your luck and your skill and your desire just to endlessly farm foam, between 10 and 30 hours just farming foam. Just doing strictly that. And then if you're trying to do other things alongside of farming foam, you are extending that 10 to 30 hours by however long, right? And when I mean farming foam, it's like, it is literally just running around in tunnels and hitting on containers. I just usually run one of the three, AK, M4, RPK. Just one of those, usually. For the most part, anything outside of just assault rifles, you're kind of... And the occasional shotgun. Auto shotguns can be useful in times. Useful at times. But generally speaking, just one of those three assault rifles. You can do the FAL too. The FAL can be kind of harder to get ammo for. But basically just the game screams at you to run assault rifles. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of too. I don't actually have that much 40mm on this account. So yeah, that's gonna be an issue. I have enough to kill a mech. Yeah, no worries. It is what it is. I do not speak Turkish. Yeah, thankfully, at least we're not there yet. We're just on money farming right now. Because we just got the bar first unlocked, so now we got to do every other bar upgrade. Which is another issue too, entirely. Yeah, because it screams at you just to farm codexes.
Wake up, rinse and repeat.
I like Gunhead. I don't play Gunhead a lot. But, like, I like the fact that he's an interesting character. He's got pros and minuses, and the minuses are big and the pros are big. Infinite stamina is really nice, but, like, you know, not being able to heal is a real downside. I like characters that make you make choices like that. I spawned the wrong side too, which is unfortunate. I need to actually make sure I spawn the right side. When you're doing mech hunting, you need to get on the towers over there and not at the bunker. Also, the bunker's just a shithole too. This bunker is a terrible place to be. I did forget to bring meds also, so that's basically playing Gunhead right now. We don't have any meds. On the plus side, I don't think we have any mechs here, so just to run through. Now, the alternatives to doing what I'm doing is farming water which is a bit more consistent, but I think overall less optimal in the long term. Like, doing water farming will give you a steady stream, but like, it's way more monotonous than doing what I'm doing, because killing mechs is at least somewhat interesting. Or can be at times. Blackwater, I have no idea. Did you actually, like, did you make it, like, actually craft the upgrade? Because the crafting bench you're mentioning, Blackwater, actually has 3 different locations on it, or upgrades on it, and you might have only bought one of them and not the right one. I actually prefer early access games, to be honest. Because at least the issues I've with early access games, I can usually hand wave a lot of the issues as early access fluff, or just like, you know, they can fix it. 1.0s are usually like, when you have an early access game, features and content aren't solid, right? They can be removed or replaced or augmented heavily. Once you have fucking pot shots. Once you have 1.0, like, that's kind of gone, right? Yeah, goodbye.
Always a pleasure, folks.
Yeah, I mean, Path of Exile 2, so that's part of the issue also, is that early access means a lot of different things to a lot of different companies and products, which is kind of one of the issues. Like, Path of Exile 2 and Path of Exile 1, to be honest, too, both of their early accesses aren't really early accesses in a more traditional sense. Well, okay. Let me explain this. Path of Exile 2 is foundationally there, right? Same thing with Path of Exile 1. The core mechanics and game loops were there, right? Like, you had, like, the characters who had skills, and you had the skill trees and so on there. When they were the early access in the sense of, we need more time for more content, that's why we're early access. We have our vertical structure here, and now we're going to make it wider over time. That's their approach to early access. I'll use this game because it's probably a more appropriate example for this stream. This game, for example, doesn't have that vertical structure there yet, and it doesn't have the width there either too. But right now, what we've been seeing in these recent patches is they've kind of been adding content, but they haven't really done anything in regards to the actual, like, vertical stack. And for every early access game, it will always be a bit different. It's why, for example, like, everyone's always confused, because they'll, like, form their internal definition of early access and then be confused when a different game doesn't actually meet that internal schematic they made. Because early access is just a fucking vague term. And it's used vaguely too. Same thing with alphas and betas too, right? Like, alphas and betas used to have a much more, I think, stringent definition in regards to how they've been used. And it doesn't really feel like that's the case anymore. It just feels like a catch-all term for really early access or early access. Well, like, it's always my concern too, in the sense of, like, you're never gonna beat the consumption of users in regards to content. So if all you're trying to do is pump out content manually and, like, yeah, basically manually, right? You don't have automated tools to do it, you're, like, doing it in a very manual way, you'll never beat consumption. It's always a losing proposition. And I kind of feel like that's where they're at with foam right now, is they're just trying to artificially extend the content they create to try to meet this criteria of sustaining players who consume content at a reckless pace. But that's a losing proposition always. You're never beating that battle. And all you're doing is pushing away players who aren't that small selective, you know, group of people who will grind a game endlessly. Regardless of if there's a game there or not. I forgot to select the right entry point again. God damn it.
Let the mask help. As long as I'm the last one.
Alright, all our mech friends here. Fucking drones. Alright, we have at least half the equation. Do we have the other half? No, we just have 4 of your open mechs. We have enough to kill 2 of them? But we have to be on the tower to do it. I'm not even sure if it's worth it because the dangers of trying to do this when there's 4 mechs around. Okay, there's a helicopter. I don't think the heli rockets do a lot of damage, so it's going to, yeah, tanks still fly. They don't, the medium mechs are going to die very quickly. Oh no, the every projectile in this game is artificially slow. It might be by design, or it might just be like an issue they've had in the past with maybe hit registration. But no, the projectiles are weirdly slow. So the biggest thing to keep in mind is that the people who are making this game are artists, and everything they're doing is to make a set piece, right? Like, don't think of the combat as trying to be any bit realistic or logically consistent. It is what fits the mood they're trying to go for. And the mood that they're probably trying to go for, considering everything is a tracer, is bullets whizzing through the air, and you have these spectacles of just like, it's like if you've ever seen combat footage at like at nighttime, right? That's the vibe they're going for, right? And if the projectiles were too fast, you wouldn't see that. Alright, so the crux of the issue here is I have enough to probably kill 2 of them. I have my drills right. Okay, I do. Before I was gonna bother doing this. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, like, that's kind of always the issue, right? When you have games that launch and then, like, keep getting updated, but, like, the hype dies down.
Eyes on us. Spread out.
Wait for my stamina to recover. Hold on. Gotta ban a guy. Goodbye. Alright. Unfortunately, I can't help you. You could hold still. I don't have infinite ammo for this. That'd be great.
Only have to be faster than the slowest.
Okay, there's the
human.
HKs. No, this is the 4 that spawned. You can get up to 4 on this map for Europa. If we see a 5th, then that's gonna be the HK. I don't know what HK we have yet. I have not looked. They can. This is why you come up here. They have issues tracking. Okay, that was actually more like 24-ish rounds, I think. I probably missed a few too early on. So this is why you come to the roof, Ram. The mechs cannot look up. I probably shouldn't waste my ammo anymore just because I don't have a lot of it. Now, getting down gonna be kind of a problem. I think there might be a better way down over here if I recall. You can't get up from this way. Let's drop down. Hopefully you're solid. There's... Boop. Yeah, here we go. I almost missed that and fell into the pit. Thank Christ. Let me come over here, drop down. All right, we're good. I mean, it's just... I can't say this to be true, but it feels like they have a knack for trying to do things in a very... It feels like they're not trying to cheat when it comes to their AI, basically. Oh, I'm dead. I lost the lottery. I lost the HK lottery. Well, that was our grenade launcher for a while, and our ammo for a while, so I guess we gotta go back the manual way. Oh no, yeah, it's basically Insta-Death Robot. If you're above 2k HP, it becomes survivable, but still a nuisance. I should probably proceed up until I get to 10k or 2k. If you're playing a character above 2k HP, they don't instantly kill you, but like if you're not there yet or a newer player, yeah, it's just an insta loss. Okay. So, we need to get back to the hard way of doing it now, which is doing what we were just doing, but relying entirely upon the mechs to do it themselves. Change entry point. But yeah, like if you're not playing any character above 2k HP, or you're not there yet on characters who can be, it's just a scheduled loss. it's the game saying you get to lose right now, deal with it. And if you take issue with that, maybe you should. Because it's not very good design. Alright, we have lost our lottery, so we get to go extract. Grab some water on the way out.
Eyes on us. Spread out.
At least on the plus side is once you get the AT rifle, you can hunt HKs or rather hunt specials much more readily to actually get codexes. Okay, so Ram, let me paint you a picture. You need like 100 million plus RAM of credits to purchase a lot of the upgrades, right? Like, or the vast majority of the upgrades when combined together is about 100 million plus.
Fill those pockets quick.
For every excess water you get 25k, I believe. Hold on, we can math this out real quickly. Calculator. So I think you need like 100 million to like get all of the upgrades, and I believe you get 20k for every additional water you get. So you would need to pick up around 5,000 containers of water if you were solely going to acquire all of these upgrades from water farming. And that's like the next best thing to do outside of codexes. So instead, what we're trying to do is we are trying to get codexes. Codexes from medium mechs. And we only need 156 of those. But the chance of them spawning is not always consistent, and if we're relying upon the games to facilitate them dying, it's even less consistent. Now, once you get the bar, which is about, like, let's say 40 million of your 100 million fully upgraded, you do get the AT rifle, which makes getting codexes a lot easier, because you just basically have this overpowered weapon, right? But, like, the idea of playing pacifist to avoid hunter killers is basically saying that you want to farm 5,000 containers of water. It's unrealistic, right? It's almost sadistic, or actually masochistic, more the term, right? So you're kind of very much pushed into doing codex farming. And now the problem with codex farming, though, is it's by of its nature not pacifist. We can delay when we get the hunter-killer trigger by letting them kill each other and then picking it up, but no matter what, we're still going to get hunter-killers when we pick up a codex. Like, full stop, right?
This is we decide.
So, it is, while not literally mandatory, it's basically a mandatory game loop that you have to opt into. And so, sometimes you just get a scripted death. Though eventually, once again, you can play around it by just having a scavenger above 2k HP. Alright, I need to extract this way. Yeah, I can't make a grenade launcher back, actually. Let me go to that grenade launcher back, because it's 100k. I can save. I mean, I mean, it's not endgame because the entire game basically, like, the way to make money, everything feels balanced right now. Wait, where's my, is it up here, really? The tombstone really acted like back where I was. The issue right now is that, like, that's the only way to make money, right? And, like, it's the same thing with foam too, right? If you want foam, you have to farm tunnels. That's your way of doing it, full stop. If you want money and you want to make meaningful amounts of money in a meaningful amount of time, It's really just codexes, full stop. I mean, yeah, and for part 2, the thing is, too, is, like, it's not... Even if you let them die passively, you still have the issue, right, where they're going to spawn after you loot the codex, right? It's not like if you passively let them die, you get to avoid hunter killers. Jar, that's basically my mentality too, right? Is that, like, foam grinding is monotonous, boring, and just makes me want to pull my hair out. It's literally just hitting E on containers over and over and over and over and over again. It also, there's the thing is too, is they haven't touched the ecosystem in such a long period of time too. It's always the weird thing of like, hey, I'm killing Europa Media mechs. Why are they deploying a grabber to kill me? It's, no, Daddy, I sit around 60 FPS. There's hitches ever so often, but, like, by and large, I sit on 60 FPS. The only really big exception is gonna be, thanks, Pasta. The only really big exception is, downtown. Downtown's always a performance hog, no matter what. But by and large, I sit around 60 for almost all content, or all of this game. Nice bells. So Jarhead, the issue I have with the bar, the tower, the foam grind and everything, it's all of these things could work if they just sat down and designed actual game loops around them. If you want foam to be this cornerstone grind of your game, you can sit down and design game loops around that are actually interesting and compelling. If you want the bar to be this cool, important thing, you can sit down and integrate it to your other game loops or your other systems, right? And same thing with the tower. But putting them into the game in this state and the way they currently are, it just makes them sticky to the point where it just never gets fixed. If you guys, I'm not sure how old many of you are, right? But I'm sure if you've worked in like software adjacent fields, right? You know the second something gets pushed to live or something gets made into the actual product, it's an entirely different story of changing it. Or rather expanding upon it, right? The moment it hits production, it's now sticky. It's hard to change. The entire bureaucracy around changing it changes. All right, let's run it back. We got our managed using air drills. All right, Mesa. Hey, Sheriff. We are just looking for codexes, really. Sheriff, I am not surprised.
I don't have a good feeling.
Fruit par. I'm not gonna lie. Okay. I don't think they are. I don't know like I don't know, right? Like I have no idea what they're doing for the next patch. But like if it's another innards upgrade with an even more expensive requirement and even more foam requirement, I might actually just make a video on it and fucking blow them up. Alright, no mechs, run it out. Sure, go ahead and ask advice. I have no problem to answer questions in chat. Let me know what you need to know. I'll try to answer them the best of my ability. So the radar towers were during an update for Theaters of War, and they... Jacob, I've already asked... Jacob. I've pretty sure I made it abundantly clear to you in comments my current stance on that, and I would like for you to respect that, please. I mean, Rat King is a codex, and Rat King will die. That is something. You spotted me, oh drone. Sheriff, the biggest advice for a newer player I can give you is go to Aramaki and make sure to buy some silencers for your AK. You should always be running a silencer on your gun, especially early on when you're learning the game. The game is much harder without a silencer. So first thing is go to Aramaki, he sells silencers. Buy like one of each one, they're all pretty cheap, and just make sure you always have one in your whatever gun you're using, and probably just default to the AK or RPK M4 for the longest time. That's the biggest advice, is just because the aggro without having a silencer is rough. Hey Rose, how's it going? I mean, I'm so Bells, when it comes to things like movement, I am perfectly fine where it's at. Like, it's one of those things, right? Like, yes, movement is bitched about constantly, right? And like, I would take to heart the controller players, because the controller is entirely different beast, right? Like, I was, to be perfectly honest, right? I don't think they should. They're absolutely trying to do console. They said it before in like Q&As. I think that's a vast, egregious mistake on their part. Making a game smooth with movement with a keyboard and mouse is entirely different from a controller, and both require lots of attention. Yeah, I don't think, like, I fully accept the fact that controller players probably have issues with movement, and that should probably be looked into because you've already made it. I don't think the mouse and keyboard movement's bad and deserves much more time or consideration, despite the complaints, right? It's one of those things where, like, it's diminishing returns. Hey, Survivor. That's kind of been the weird part about it for Par, is that it's been a lot of not even late games. They added in late game grind content without adding in late game loops. Yeah, I don't have issues with the movement. I can understand, like, there might be lots of people, or a fair amount of people on controller, saying the movement is bad, but not really making sure they're being fully transparent about the whole controller part of it, right? I do not think mouse and keyboard movement's bad at all remotely. Is there a bit of a learning curve? Absolutely, probably. But I think it's mainly controller players, and that's fair. I don't have issues with, like, with them broken controller. But once again, it's an entirely different beast. Alright, Rakhang, where the fuck did you die? Yeah, but Arc Raiders is like, comparing it to that, for my indie game area, for me thinking of indie games, like actual factual indie games, and not Arc Raiders is AAA. Like, sure, you might not call Embark a AAA studio, but when you spend 300 million on a project, yeah, you're AAA. That's a AAA budget right there. And so, like, yeah, my tolerances between indie game movement and AAA movement, yeah, I'm going to be much more okay with some hiccups here and not smoothness or a little bit more rigidity in an indie game. Because I'm not thinking in comparing this to Arc Raiders, I'm thinking about comparing this to Tarkov. No, yeah, Arc Raiders is a fucking AAA game. It might not claim to be, because it doesn't want to be attributed to be like an EA. But it is 100% 300 plus employees and 300 plus million. Helldivers is AA. Arrowhead's a studio that I think was at the time less than 100 people.
Only have to be faster than the slowest human.
I'm not sure their size now. They might be much more akin to AAA, but like if you have a studio less than 100 people, yeah, like you're not AAA.
Spread out.
Okay, I think we got just Europe and 100 kills, which is perfectly fine. According to Ubisoft, it already exists. Not even 20 times bigger. It's like, actually, 20 times is probably appropriate, right? No, but I think at like early times, yeah, I think there was a period of time, Vivid, I think where you're right. It was like 100K, like 1K. Weirdly enough, the only game that I might consider to be quadruple A, actually factually, yeah, 100 mil is in the grand scheme of things for 8 years is pretty low, right?
I think they spotted us.
No, but GTA 6, considering like the budget size of GTA 6, like they're going to be spending billions of dollars on that game, right? But that's because they expect to make billions back. GTA 5's already made fucking them billions back, right? With shark guards. But no, GTA 6 might actually factually be like an actual quadruple A game. Between the size of the company, like the scope of that game, the size of the company, the budget for that game that they're willing to be okay with to put it out, like nothing else can probably compare to it. Not even Star Citizen, right? Like, keep in mind, GTA 6 has a higher fucking like budget than fucking Star Citizen. Well, like, so if we're trying to think of different criterias, like AAA usually falls all in the same budget range, like hundreds of millions, like hundreds of employees, and so on and so forth. Like, GTA 6 might be the first actual instance of like billions of dollars and maybe over 1,000 employees working on a product, right? That is a scale of magnitude bigger than AAA. Hey, Blood. Well, yeah, that's to be fair, that's the only reason they can actually get those budgets right, is because they have an actual track record of being able to deliver on that scale too. Between GTA 5 and Red Dead, they can take that input of hundreds of millions, right, and translate that into profits. It got delayed a while ago, Dyer, but yeah. All right, so we have gotten one codex. Oh boy. All right, Grillo. Where are you at, Rat King Codex? I could do Elephant instead. Elephant has a chance of mech spawning also, just for a change of scenery. The three maps that have the best chance of me like farming codexes are these three. Scorch is kind of a shit show because like the areas where you would loot them is even more chaotic than Mesa. We can try an Elephant though. Yeah, they removed the fast travel drones from the tunnels. So tunnels only cost water now. The only thing that costs... Oh, wait, downtown is... Babel does... I know they removed it from the tunnels, but I guess they removed it from a... Wait, Elephant costs a fast... I'm confused. Do you cost a fast travel drone, but you're not saying? Why are you free? Oh, interesting. Does it depend on entry point? Wait, no, the UI is just wrong? Or is this UI just wrong? I'm so fucking confused. Let's just go to... This is the problem too, right? If I want to do I guess I can do Scorched Enclave for a bit and see if we can get some stuff done there instead. Elephant Mausoleum's not worth the fast travel drone. We gotta just look for this man real quickly. Ammo. Just bring 200 in. Bring some meds. We'll bring 4 drills just to be prepared. We shouldn't need 4 drills.
Up, rinse and repeat.
No, the extracts are always exist. It just depends on the entry point. I think the I think the actual entry points differ now. They're not always static, but I might be wrong on that. If you're coming in from tunnels, it might not always be the same. But no, your extract points solely depend upon where you enter the map in, not where you come from like tunnels or something like that. Okay, we don't have our mechs. Here we go, running through again. Let me check the quest rewards too. I don't think they've touched quests at all. I think the rewards are all still pretty anemic. I'm trying to think. I cannot think of a better way of doing this. I'm trying to think of one. I don't think quests would do anything. That was like a patch, I think 2 or 3 patches ago, Bells. It does help. I don't really like the, I would rather it be a much more, I don't know. It feels a bit too in your face, Bells. That's my main complaint about it. All right. Let me move those over. Okay. Yeah, these don't make any money. I think the most is like 50K. They definitely have not touched quest credit rewards at all. I'm not gonna lie, considering the millions of credits you need to actually build a building, and then the quest rewards for killing big bads, feels a bit... Hold on, let's find a good example of this, right? Let's find an actual, like, factual big bad quest. Yeah, so... in exchange... So, let's say, for example... Okay, let's just take this one upgrade, right? For the first bar upgrade, right, I need 8 million credits. And let's go find a quest. Like Tormentor or any of... Pyro doesn't even give. Well, we can sell an RPK. Let's go do that. So for killing Pyro, what do I get for selling an RPK? I get 8K. Let's just run, let's be generous and run up to 9. So we have 8 million. Divide by 9,000. I would need to kill Pyro generously 888 times doing this quest to unlock the bar. Killing this Europa big bad that I am being hired to go kill by Eurasia because they're super scared of him apparently. They're only willing to give me something that's worth 9,000 credits. But meanwhile, carving out a space in the tunnels costs 8 million. Wait, what's the exact upgrade we're doing? It looks like we're doing light bulbs. To install light bulbs in our bar with this materials costs 8 million in probably, I guess, labor. I don't think you can follow me when I call this game logically inconsistent, right? It just makes no fucking sense at times with its balancing of things. And so, for that reason, we can't get our money from quests. We can get our money from water, but like... Okay, so let's assume 20k, like, so 8 million... Divide by, hold on. I think it's like what, 400? Yeah. So we would need to get 400 containers of extra water to unlock that one upgrade, right? And we need to do the ones after that too. Okay, we have at least rat gang. All right, thank you, Rat King. Yeah, but I've mentioned this before too, though. You can't balance the game around that, though. I mean, let's rephrase. You certainly can. It is self-defeating.
Phew. Luck.
Well, I don't. There's nothing to kill Rat King though.
Eyes on us. Spread out.
God damn it. I mean, actually, no. Keep going. Keep going. Keep shooting him. Keep shooting him. Go. 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 You got this. I believe in you. You're shooting it. I feel like that does an actual disservice to MMORPGs, because MMOs usually have an economist actually on staff to help balance their game. They actually give a shit because MMOs actually have to give a shit because there are so many players who play MMOs just for the trading aspect. I mean, I can kill the rat gang, I just don't have the means of doing so. But I can wait though. Are you skating? I believe in you, Ureska officer. You can do this. Don't you kill him. I need him to kill you. No. You monster. All right, tanks, do your job. Tanks? Tanks? Tanks, I need you to do some, like, target prioritization here. The infantry are not a threat. The big mech in front of you is a threat.
Everyone for the...
Let me know while I'm here. Hey, please just shoot the goddamn thing. Is there... What are you aiming at? Now I'm just fucking curious. It's not... Are you, like... It's not shooting at all, is it?
Eyes on us. Spread out.
Are they, like, confused? No, sir, that's been a pretty common complaint. It's eternal at this point. Oh, well. I'm so fucking confused. All of that time waiting to see if Toothy will die. And the Europa medium max, the Europa tanks are just like, no, we're fine here. Maybe there's like some weird thing where they just won't target him with their main guns for some reason. Apparently there is some logic in their back end where like certain guns will only shoot certain things. Like, for example, they won't have their top-mounted MGs shoot armored vehicles. But maybe there's some weird issue with that in regard to targeting vehicles. tanks do fly. It's rarer, but they still fly. It's usually not as comical as it was before, but tanks still do fly.
Remember, we're already dead.
I haven't actually played Tunnels yet. I've been strictly just farming Mesa and this map. So the only thing I've heard, well, let's do a Tunnels run. Let's take a break from this monotony and just go. Actually, well, let's exchange it for a different type of monotony. Let's go do a run in Tunnels for funsies. Let's actually start Tunnel D just to see how bad it can get. So what I have heard, and what we've kind of experienced too, is that the tunnels have been absolutely gutted. And that basically enemies just don't spawn in tunnels anymore. And so the only purpose tunnels, like, once again, we're gonna go see how it plays now. But like, by and large, to my knowledge, tunnels is just now an area full of loot containers. I mean, Tempt, I don't want to say it's not. If you bought a membership, I should usually, I think, see that in the chat, but I didn't see it. If you do it through, I think, the actual user interface. I don't have pop-ups on screen for that. Regardless, I appreciate it if you did. You don't feel compelled to, though, too. I have it dirt cheap for a reason. It's just a way to, like, if you want to give additional support, you can, but, like, yeah, I don't... This is not my primary revenue stream. I don't need to beg for gift subs, or I don't need to beg for subs. Fuck you, drones. Yeah, bro. Yep, I'm back from holiday. Well, so there's lots of small stuff like that that they just don't consider worth the bandwidth to fix. It's the kind of the chronic issue, right? Is that they're that what Willard, like Gromit, what's that fucking British fucking cartoon? It's basically like them constantly laying track in front of them to keep them moving forward. They can't go back and revisit old track, or they really rarely do. It's once again just like an instance of once something is in live, it becomes incredibly sticky. There we go, Wallace and Gromit. There we go. So there's a gif of Wallace and Gromit of I think Gromit's the dog, right? Or Wallace is the dog. Either one. It's a gif of them like basically like laying track in front of them to keep the train moving right in front of them. That's kind of my analogy for Fun Dog, right? Once a piece of track has been laid, they move on top of it and they keep moving forward. They don't revisit prior tracks. I need wood planks, not 2x4s. It's the thing I do actually need in these tunnels. Thanks, Jill. Likewise. Yeah, apparently I need wood planks, which cannot be made from 2x4s apparently. I feel like Survivor... It took me a while to probably accept this too, because I was thinking much more rationally. And I'm not saying that they're irrational, but think of it this way, right? They think of the game like you think of an art piece, right? They are creating, like they are painting something, right? They are, you know, filling in the gaps here and there. They're not, to them, everything is forward facing and front facing, right? The systems in the back aren't that important, right? It's about what's presented to you, like in your face, right? And so all of this back-end stuff that makes sense to anyone who thinks much more in a, I would not say traditional sense, but much more like architectural sense, it just makes no goddamn sense. Because like the way of like, if they're trying to emulate this like, you know, eternal war and living battle simulator, right? Or like they're trying to do a battle simulator in the back end, right? Which would make sense. Like, why have a system like Theaters of War if you don't really have this simulated back end to simulate an actual war, right? We're not leaving just yet. Actually, I mean, this is downtown, we can. Yeah, but Critical, the thing is though, right, like, A, that has to exist, and B, it has to be in their mental headspace, and it's not. Like, it's in a way, sort of, kind of, an entirely different way of thinking. Well, Bellas, in contrast, what I think I'm mentioning here is what I felt, Ciros, this game was marketing itself as, right? Because keep in mind, your phrase of living art book, right? Or not your phrase, but the phrase of living art book is not something they marketed the game as. It was something someone else marketed the game as for them, right? That's not their words. And I basically go back and watch their original gameplay trailer. What they say there and what they present actually in the game itself are two completely different games. And what I was sold on the game by was that first gameplay trailer, right? But like I tell you right now, like go watch the original gameplay trailer, right, for the game. The one with like, you know, the voiceover. It's an entirely different game from what this game currently is. And so whenever I'm thinking of this game, I'm thinking it back to that original premise and like what's the difference between those two and how do you get it back to be more in line with that original premise? Because technically speaking, they have never done a communication saying they were pivoting off of that, right? So yeah, and that's part of the original pitch, right? But no, like by and large, it's just like for the same reasons I can't really think of it in an artistic way, they probably can't think in a more like architectural way, I would think, right? It's just different disciplines and different ways of learning and different ways of applying that learning, right? Just different brains, basically. And it's just unfortunate that it just, you know, took uncovering it to be like, oh yeah, this game is gonna just be kind of what it is. Oh, I have no idea what this game is. They're calling it a tactical shooter, but like even that is wrong. Hey, Riven, not much. We're just kind of taking a break from the grinding of codexes to do a little bit of exploration. I mean, I feel like if it's PvE, in and of itself, it's not pay to win. To be perfectly honest, if you're paying to win or you're paying to progress in a PvE game, you're getting fucking duped, dude, or your brain is broken. We have our aqua.
As long as I'm the last one standing.
I mean, much more likely to the way most PvE games actually do. It's not pay to win; it's pay to progress. Like Warframe isn't pay to win; it's pay to progress, right? And they make the grind artificially, well, not artificially. They make the grind just slow as shit for that exact reason. No, yeah, drones do that all the time. Drones love spawning and things. I'm kind of confused why their system for spawning drones has that issue, right? Are you trying to murder me? I mean, you would be surprised, Critical. Just like the foam, the IRL timer is here to stay for no explainable reason. Once again, it is entirely based off vibes and feelings, not architectural purpose. It's an entirely different headspace. That is the reason why, like, for example, I try to rationalize, like, what purpose does this IRL timer serve? When it's not about purpose, it's about feeling. And that's why I can't understand it, is because, like, that's not how I operate. That's how they operate.
We decide what happens next.
They use the IRL timer to facilitate a feeling of reward for logging back in and seeing something done. But that's not a reward for me personally, but it's a reward for them, so it's in their game.
Again.
See you, Bells. Well, when it's a PvE offline game, right? Having an IRL timer feels like it's betraying the game itself when nothing else operates on that IRL time. Like, okay, if you want the IRL timer to exist in your game, right? You need to have things that actually happen during that time, right? Like the state of the war needs to change. Things need to change meaningful. Like, yes, water drain should not have existed in the capacity it existed, right? But water drain is something that adds actual context to passing of time, right? And that's why having the simulation layer beneath the game itself is important, because if the player doesn't feel anything from waiting for 2 fucking days for something to be crafted by the game itself changing over time, then they're gonna not feel the logical consistency internal to the game itself of that crafting. Like, it's not about being realistic, it's about being internally consistent. And this game has such massive issues in regards to being internally consistent. Like, if we go to, actually, I didn't even build that. 3, 4, 5 hours. I have actually not purposely built the ammo or the weapon repair because I don't use either of them, so. All right. We had our court-mandated break from farm in Mesa. Now we go back to Mesa. There's no architectural reason, Jarhead, for the timer to exist, but there is an emotional one. There is a feeling they're trying to evoke with it, right? Like, they are not thinking in the terms of how to engage players on a behavioral level, right? They're doing it on an emotional one. That is how they operate. They want a feeling of, this looks cool, this feels awesome, this XYZ, so and so forth, right? They're not trying to say, like, they're not really going for the classic game loop of rewarding you for doing things. Everything they do is trying to evoke a feeling, not this intrinsic feeling of reward or progression or just really anything. It's a very non-traditional game in that standpoint. It would be much more akin to like they should just use the tagline, yeah, a living art book, because that's much more on brand for what this game actually is, right? It is a living art book. It looks really fucking cool. The art's amazing. But like, let's take, for example, the AT rifle. The AT rifle looks, I think, kind of cool. Is it kind of derivative like all guns are? Yeah, because all guns are somewhat derivative of each other. But the AT-43 rifle actually does look cool, but its actual implementation of the game is ass. Because their idea of a weapon like the AT-43 is they want you to have the emotion of feeling powerful, right? It's not about balance and risk and reward. It's just about like a, hey, you did this long grind now. You should feel powerful, have this emotion of being a badass now. Alright, are the mechs here? Or am I running it back? Am I stuck? Okay, we're good. Nope, yeah, we're out of luck. And we are not rolling very well today on our mechs, really. Hyper, I think it depends on what their actual original idea was, Hyper. Because at this point, does anyone know? Are we gonna go off their gameplay trailer, their original gameplay trailer, for what their actual original idea? Like, what was the actual original idea? Is it though? I don't think that "You're Not This Guy" is the original pitch for the game. It's a tagline they used on their Steam store. It's not something they actually used in any gameplay trailers.
It's like Christmas.
Hyper, if you...
Now to open those presents.
Yes and no. Hyper, part of the reason that kind of it feels inevitable is because the way you think of it, think of this way. As a player in this game, how do you interact with almost everything in the game? You can do two things. You can loot by hitting E on a container, and you can shoot. That is the only two ways you get to interact with the world, right? You have grenades, I guess, sort of, kind of, but and you have a semblance of stealth, right? But by and large, the game basically says, if you want to interact, you're going to loot and you're going to shoot. The emphasis needs to be moved away from both of those. Because there's no skill mastery really in looting, and having your only skill mastery being in how well you can shoot, well, are you going to make it a skill-based shooter? Which is going to vastly, basically just tell your casual audience to fuck right off? Because most of them are not interested in, trying to master making a basic function like shooting difficult. City Ruins. You have to think of the different types of verbs a player can do. I don't. God damn it. Can I just get some fucking mechs, man? That's why I don't consider that's why I don't consider stealth as a real verb that a player can do. You can kind of do it, but it's by and large a trap. Darkstar, I don't miss their Q&As. And let's go. Go down, Darkstar, if you, I'm not saying do this, but if you want to actually validate my claims, you can. I don't think you would, but that's perfectly fine. I don't expect you to do this. But go back and watch the last 2, 3, 4 Q&As, right? Those Q&As were literally just them nodding their head saying, that's a cool idea. We have some cool stuff coming. Let's move on to the next question. That's it. It was that for literally an hour. The last literal Q&A we had, they talked about fucking HKs for 3 of the questions, probably about half of the actual fucking Q&A, and didn't answer anything. No, they don't address, the Q&As don't do anything. That's why I told Mouse to stop fucking doing them. And now we have the slightly better dev blogs. Because because at least the dev blogs don't take up an hour of your time, so you have like some semblance of hope of them actually answering a question. I don't think it's malicious, Robin. The burden of proof for, like, I don't think it's malicious. I think it's a different train of, like, it's not often you ever get exposed to the artistic side being public communicators. The mental headspace they're in is vastly different from what we've ever been trained to accept or talk to, right? Like, we've had, like, corpo speech, we've had actual, like, game developers give, like, Q&As and talks. Oh, sorry, when I mean actual game developers, I mean game developers in the sense of not so artistically leaning. We have never really had this instance where you have the artists be the public-facing people in a company. And so they're not trained to give responses, and we're not trained to receive their responses, right? I mean, they had a CM. Rip Mads. And my experiences have been talking to the actual designers and programmers, right? Because I can, like, and like, that's the thing too, is like, typically speaking, like, and stuff like that, you'll have the actual game designer, right? Or like the actual, like, person in charge of the project, or that part of the project do the speaking for it, right? But they're in the trenches doing things like art and the baseline programming, and also being the actual, like, forward-facing platform. It's not something they're trained for. It's not something that we're trained to parse through, right? I also think they're being purposely cagey too, but, like, I can't fault them for being cagey. The scene was like,
Remember, we're already dead.
if we're to believe some different sources, around the time they got additional funding in February of 2025, they also downsized a little bit. We're more in the range, probably about around 20 people working there, maybe 15 to 20 people working there as opposed to 30. Okay, running it back. Oh no, yeah, they never had a gameplay designer, right? They don't have an architect gamer. Like, that's my kind of point, right? Is like, you don't really have someone who has the authority to give clear answers, it feels like, because it feels like they're functioning much more on a consensus basis. And I will say this, if they aren't operating on a consensus basis, like a groupthink basis, whoever is the person in charge is dropping the ball fucking hard. Because if I'm mistaking your individual kind of design, your game design, for the flaws of groupthink in regards to game design, that should probably paint you a pretty big picture of what's going wrong right now. It screams that you don't have a coherent vision. No, Hyper, yeah, they need a mood killer. And by mood killer, okay. There's always, God, fucking drones. This is your daily reminder that drones don't have model guns on them, so every time they shoot you, they're spawning bullets out of fucking nothing. Anyway, there is a mythical figure in offices in development. To put it simply, they have different titles. They usually exist in different spaces depending on the company, but by and large, they are an editor. They are the editor. They are not the person who develops. They are not the person. They might do some development here and there. They might do some writing here and there, but by and large, their job is to make sure everything comes together into something cohesive. Like for a newspaper, right? When you have an editor, they know what their overall the vibe of their paper, right? they can go back to a writer and say, hey, this is good, but this X, Y, and Z is not fitting with who we are as a paper, or doesn't fit what we should be doing, so try to go back and rework it. And the same thing happens in software too, right? You have lead designers, you have people in charge. It might not always be a designer, but it might be someone in some authority position who has the ability to come to you and say no, because they have the grand overall plan. Does that make their grand overall plan right? No, but it's like this old adage in sports, right? There is a reason why teams will do something even if you know it might not work, is because a team doing something together in cohesion is better than 50 people, 20 people, 6 people, however big the sport is, doing something randomly, right? There has to be not a head honcho, but head honchos who have the ability to say no, have the ability to basically wrangle all the ideas together into a cohesive structure. And it doesn't feel like Fundog has that. I mean, yeah, there's the... It's a two-way street, gamer, for sure, right? Like, it takes... It is, if you have never been exposed to it before, taking criticism on the chest, on the chin, is insanely hard, right? And you're, even subconsciously, fuck off drones. Even subconsciously, your first desire in that regard is to react defensively, even if you're not consciously aware of it. It takes a while before you can even break yourself down internally to be just open to being critiqued and being okay with that. And so it's a two-way street, right? Like, it's both on the people on the other side to make sure they try to let them, like, be as gentle as they can while still being truthful with their critique. But on the same time, too, it takes time and growth for the person to actually be able to accept that also. Especially if this is their first time experiencing that, right? Like, I'm gonna throw out their name. I'm not saying this is the case. I'm just using their name because everyone knows who Miles is, right? So once again, I'm not saying this is the case with Miles. I'm just using him as an example, right? Just for a name purpose. Let's just say John. Let's say, for example, John's an artist at Fundog, and John has always worked behind the scenes before. And so John's never been directly exposed to criticism about the game, right? He just does his job, he does his art, he goes and he models, he clocks in, clocks out, and he's done, right? Let's say now John, in this case, gets promoted to like lead artist, right? And part of his job title is he needs to go look at, like, you know, requests from the community, or go like parse through issues about certain pieces, and he has to go expose himself now to the customer. And the customer is the internet. The customer doesn't have a filter. They don't have to be professional. This is not a place with decorum, it's the internet, right? And so he's going to, like, you know, forums, he's going to discussion pages, he's going to the Discord, and looking through the feedback on these pieces. And this is his first time he's actually experienced how vitriolic, you know, people can be on the internet. It's different from when they were in college and they had a professor. A professor gives you critiques, they let you know what's wrong, they think like what's fixing, but it's all subjective, right? Like, you know, a professor has decorum, the internet does not. And so it's understandable, right, when they're first exposed to like this new feedback form that they get, that they might react defensively and even close themselves off to it, right? Because the internet can be very hurtful and personal sometimes, right? God, I just want mechs. I just want mechs. I just want mechs. I just want mechs. Please, why are you giving me night shifts? Yeah, and like, yeah, you have to be able to separate the constructive from the unconstructive, right? Yeah. The sound effects of Night Shift. Oh no, here's another run through as we were trying to with how unlucky we have been recently, it almost feels better if we were doing a little like water farming. Yeah, I don't necessarily mean Miles. Like, once again, I added the caveat that like I am speaking generally here. I'm not saying Miles specifically. I'm saying Fun Dog generally. It feels like there might be some animosity in that regard. Hyper, that's the double-edged sword too, right? You are absolutely correct that if you try to sugarcoat it too much, you can get your overall message lost in the sauce. Yeah, thankfully, like, once you learn where they spawn, they're pretty easy to avoid. Like, one spawns on the road, and then one can spawn in the field over there, and so you just go around. It helps, too, that I don't really need to do anything on this map. I'm just going to run through again, because I need mechs, so. I don't know. I have no idea if they're actually to touch guns again, but... Okay, here's my hope. The reason why I hold out on games in early access for so long, I did the same with, like, I like early access games because I know by their nature, everything should be on the cutting floor, right? When you say you're early access, you're saying that this game is incomplete, and so things are subject to change, which means things are subject to removal. Because sometimes cutting out things for the greater good is better than just adding more shit in, basically. And where I'm going with this is so many of the guns should just be removed from the game and time spent on the few they keep in. I would rather have 15 to 20 well-made guns that actually have interesting qualities to them than 50 to 60 guns that just all feel mediocre. Come back, you. And so that's why I like early access, is because once it's 1.0, things that are in the game don't get removed anymore because you've now sold a complete product. So removing things actually gets you kind of in a weird spot, like Destiny. And so early access is the only time where I feel like it's justifiable to do it. Oop.
Another day.
Ross, the new skin pack is the first skin pack I didn't buy. I will not be giving them money for that. All right, run it back. Sketh, basically for the most part, your grenade launchers are niche, your shotguns are a role filler for like crowd control, but by and large, just use a rifle. AK, M4, RPK, occasionally a foul if you have the ammo for it and are feeling a little bit spicy. But by and large, the only guns that are really do anything at all are like the core assault rifles with drum mags. Okay, we have half. Do we have the other half? I mean, we have T90s. They might be able to do it. Oh, we did it. It's finally. Watch it be the fucking dog. Alright, so we finally got the criteria we need in this map where we have both the Europa and the Eurasian mech spawned. They will kill each other pretty quickly. I mean, it does feel a bit better than those rifles, right? Alright, anything up here? Okay, there we're good. Okay, that's one mech down. Okay, so far so good. We have the right exchange here. So 3 mechs will die, the 4th will live, but the 4th might die to just extra fire. I have no idea what 1.0 will hold. I have no idea how close or far away we are from 1.0. I have no idea if they're going to have a change of heart anytime in the near future. What? Drone? Drone. I mean, if I get pot-shotted by a tank, it is what it is. Ah, yes, the classic AI approach of walk forward and shoot. Okay. So last mech alive is the Europa medium mech. I mean, so guy, it's why I hope that they're not all in on the game itself. Like I don't see the game doing that well. I just hope that it's the like I hope they lean more on the IP. Because the reason why they're popular at all or why they blew up so hard is because of the IP. Not because of the game. In their like annual video, they mentioned they were doing like a Dark Horse Comics, something like that. I think they just license out though. I'm not sure how that process works, right? The only problem though is like an RTS is kind of, well, okay, a few things actually are like, yeah, a hype, like an I feel like their skill set is so far removed from making an RTS. RTS is also some of a dead genre too. It would actually require some innovation, which I think they're not really equipped to handle. It's really just a check. I don't... This Merkaba is fucking killing me. The only thing I have to be worried about is just the HK, right? This tank who's currently shooting literally right next to... What the fuck are you shooting at? You're not shooting the infantry, are you? I can tell you right now, hold on. When a game, hold on. You gotta do a sanity check. Gamer, do me a favor, how many reviews does Tempest Rising have? Like, not positive, negative, just the pure count of reviews. I am pretty sure this game has sold more copies than Tempest Rising. Which should be screaming to you, huh? A fully polished RTS game versus an indie extraction shooter that is floundering. Scath, if you don't have the AT rifle, you have to be a character above 2K. Dust Front looks really cool. It's still a niche genre.
Only have to be faster than the slowest human.
Eh, how's it going? It's also a genre that hasn't really had too much innovation. Though, I mean, the War Game, Warfront did help in that regard. Warno, there's a bunch of games that are basically kind of sort of on that card now. It just appealed to... It's still a functional RTS, but it definitely did help, I think, onboard quite a few new players. There you are. Alright, time to skedaddle. That is the question that people are having issues answering, right? Oh. That's kind of like Stormfront was Stormfront. Apparently Stormfront's not a very good RTS in the first place, but Stormfront thought the issue was onboarding new players to the genre because the genre itself is fairly unintuitive. And I don't think they're wrong, but I don't think they have the full equation either. Yeah, Stormfront has already failed apparently on the actual, like, game side, but, like, Stormfront, they thought the issue for RTSs was people getting onboarded, right? They thought it was a pure onboarding issue. I like how the HKs will like despawn and respawn now right in front of you. That's always fun. It's also the thing of too is like a lot of people who are into strategy games also just don't want to be like feel like they're time pressured, right? Because like RTS is like one of the core thing of RTS is right is like actions per minute, or like, you know, not doing more than your opponent but making more meaningful like instructions than your opponent, right? And that in of itself is usually a very limiting metric. Like people who want to think about strategy also just don't usually want to feel rushed about it, right? So blowing up the bridge hex, what it does is it's a Theaters of War thing, and what it does is it stops cyborgs from spawning on Scrapyard. So like it literally turns off the spawns of cyborgs on Scrapyard. It might do that for another map too, but I can't recall exactly. All right, so that was 3 codexes. We need to do that 50 more times. In total, not just for the bar. Where's my third? Oh, there it is. Okay, at the very top. 50. So so in total, the amount of credits you need for like all of the upgrades is over 100 million. So divide that by what we get for these codexes, which is 640k. They're way too expensive. I don't think they actually sat down and thought about how expensive they made them. Considering your only way of making money in this game is codexes, yeah. I guess the Lotus Quest line, we should probably do the Lotus Quest line too. I need more cigarettes though. But yeah, 2 mil. And a little bit of other things along the way. Yeah, construction foam is eventually going to be your bottleneck. You will eventually get enough concrete. Foam will still be the bottleneck. By and large, no, yeah, I fully recommend for the most part just doing that because that's what the gameplay is behind. Just do the mod to get rid of the really arbitrarily expensive cost. I don't, because I stream for the game, and I feel it's disingenuous to show a modded game on stream for people who like. I want to show what they're getting, right? I don't want to show like something that's not what it is. At least baseline. I've already read this, so I don't need to read it again. Yes. All right, basic 6. He does actually give you quite a bit of money, not like a couple mil, I think. In the completing this quest line gives you a couple mil. It's not a lot in the grand scheme of things, but it does help a little bit for just picking up cigarettes. All right, let's do a quick just change of pace. Let's go Tunnel Beta Alpha Mausoleum, just for a different fucking perspective. But no, the problem with foam really right now is that okay. Let's say like
Wake up.
You need 100 foam for the tower. You need 50 foam for the bar. You need 25 foam, I think, for the personal quarters. Like, you're getting to around the point where you need about 200 foam in total. Let's just say 185. Like, even if you're getting, like, 10 foam an hour, right? Even if, like, and I think 10 foam an hour is pretty high. Even if you're getting 10 foam an hour, that's still just 18 hours of doing what I'm about to do. Just going through tunnels and hitting E on containers for 18 hours. Like, doing this for 18 hours. Not killing things, not doing quests, not doing, like, actual content. Just hitting E on containers for 18 hours. Gamer, yes, the tower's 100 foam. And, let's just say this was raised to them before it went live, and it fell upon deaf ears. The blessed foam. And to be fair, if you think the grind is bullshit, there are mods to get around it. Blessed be the PvE game. I mean, I just can't help but feel like there was always this underlying animosity, but, you know. Yeah, like, it kind of felt like virtue signaling for sure.
Trying to carefully extract the good stuff.
I feel personally, okay, this is a personal thing. I will mention that first and foremost. I am not typically a person who enjoys those types of displays. Like, I feel like you shouldn't, if you're doing something for the applause, it feels like at its core it's already tainted, right? Like, what I'm trying to say, like, I'm basically saying that I take issues usually, like, I personally have an issue with, like, basically, like, compliment farming, right? Or just, like, begging, or just, like, trying to do things that, like, you know, you should clap for me for X, Y, and Z reason. And those, like, the short band videos they did, right? Like, the little shorts they did about, like, being pro player, definitely kind of felt like a now clap moment, right? Like, if your whole identity is that your actions should speak in place of your words, why are you using your words for that? Should it not be just relayed upon in the game itself? Or how you carry yourselves anyway? May I have some more foam, please? There could be a case made too for like, the problem is this, right, too? The foam is the upfront cost. The money is the issue throughout, right? Like, I could be doing this and doing foam farming with codex farming, but no matter what, I'm going to get to a point where, like, I'm probably going to need to make more money anyway. Because the issue with all of these things I'm looting, by and large, is that credit cost-wise, they're relatively worthless. Like, all of the loot in tunnels, for the most part, the drills are not terrible in regards to cost, but, like, the alcohol, the scotch, just, like, everything in here is just relatively worthless. See you, gamer. Alright, we're looking for elephant, we're looking for more containers. Either way. If I don't find elephant, I keep going. If I find elephant, I leave. And the first one's up there to the right, so we'll go up there first. We go. Yeah, I mean, it kind of does. I would say, in regards to other things, it does add a bit. Wrong map. Okay, keep going. It's more interesting than personal quarters, like 100%. Like, I will say, it is the personal quarters is very boring. It's just a buff. It's just a buff. It looks cool and it's a buff. That's it. The intermission tower at least adds some extra stuff. The crux of the issue, though, is that, like, you shouldn't be, I feel like, gating your interesting stuff that late time-wise into the game, right? When so much of the earlier game is just devoid of interesting shit. Like, there's like this giant gap between a new player learning and getting new stuff that actually expands upon what they can do. Yes, the dead end. Up. The issue is before that too, the bar itself, because keep in mind, the personal quarters is just a buff. It's not progression. It doesn't give you more things to do. It gives you something to chase, right? But it doesn't, like, give you new content. It doesn't make you more, like, it doesn't make you, like, have a new ability. It doesn't, like, let you go to a piece of content you've been to before. It doesn't give you new things to do. It's just a, hey, this is something for you to chase to get a buff. That's it. Meanwhile, the bar actually does do a few new things. It gives you access to the AT rifle. It does give you access to at least chasing a few new things for the patrons. It does actually give you stuff to do. And same thing can be said for the tower. It's just that, like, between the gap of, like, I consider like the first plateau for new players is getting to the equipment runner. Not much, just talking repping. Like by the time you get to the equipment runner, you by and large have progressed to the point where you're now ready to start farming to the bar, basically. If you haven't gotten the crafting station unlocked yet. Now, have you likely experienced all of like the maps that the game offers? No. But they, by them themselves, don't really have any content locked behind them. Until you get to the bar, right? Like, the problem right now is that the way they've designed or haphazardly thrown together progression, it's a bunch of separated plateaus that don't really mesh at all. They're just kind of all of these like stringent, just far away towers from each other. So it makes it, for newer players, just an absolute slog. I'm under an NDA, but I haven't talked to them in so long that I'm pretty much safe to say, like, I won't say certain things for that reason, but like by and large, I haven't talked to them or played a dev build in forever. So I know I know what you guys know. The last time I actually talked to Miles was our heart-to-heart. I don't think they forgot about me, it's just that, like, they know I'm a negative person. And by negative, I mean I bring up issues that are wrong with the game. I create things that for them to do, basically. They know I exist. I mean, I still have both of their DMs. I can DM them whenever I want. There's just no need to. The last thing I talked to them about was when we were streaming, I think a month ago, is we found this like weird behavior in tunnels in regards to like containers stopping population of their items after a certain point. And apparently that was just a side effect of the system they use. Which shouldn't be a thing, but at least it wasn't malicious. Or at least they said it wasn't malicious. Which, I mean, I'm likely to believe. I can understand. Like, I don't know why they would do it in that way, but that's a different thing entirely. But no, Revan, my last conversation was my last big conversation was like a 4-hour talk with Miles, where I was basically trying to get him to like not necessarily see the light per se, but more in the sense of like a, hey, like, can like, I was, as opposed to like saying, hey, there's a game issue, I was more trying to address him on like a personal level, sort of, kind of, in the sense of like a, hey, this game feels like it's not mismanaged per se, but it feels like there's a philosophical like issue here. And what we got out of that was the dev blogs, and what died because of that was the Q&As, and what also died with that was their desire to communicate with me. Which is fair, I understand. Having a very blunt and honest conversation can do that to some people. It's fair. Alright, so what we're looking for here is we're gonna see if the mechs will spawn over here too. There's a chance they spawn over here. Also in the center too, but the center ones can't really die, so they can die, but like there's nothing there to kill them. A weirdly much more, not fully appropriately, but much more appropriately sized. Can I crouch through here? Back. I can, just barely. All right, do we hear a pitch battle? Here's the question. Do we get to kill some mechs today, or watch mechs die today? Not you. We have our T-90s. They might be able to kill him. If they actually shoot. These fucking tanks just never want to shoot, man. Shoot the fucking back. Where are you guys going? Ah, weird. Alright, well, guess we get to leave. Back to Mesa we go. I don't feel safe. Why are you walking out of the— there's nothing here. Fucking weirdo exo. Alright, well. We came, we saw nothing, and then we left. Go away, leave me alone.
It's like Christmas came early. How to open those presents.
Alright, we got a little bit of foam. It can be in the trenches. So near the medical door in the trench lines, not where we're at, but the other trench lines, a grabber can spawn in those trench lines during the day. Not guaranteed though, just can. Alright, drills. Back to Ashen Mesa, my lovely friend. Yeah, it's not a guaranteed chance, and you usually can hear it if it is actually in the trench line. I would recommend not opening the door though, if it for that quest, if it is actually there though. It can be a bit rough.
keep a record in the event of my death.
No, yeah, it fails. Okay, we have half the equation. Do we have the other half? We have fucking 3 or 4 medium mechs. Oh my god. I like Theaters of War, but like, it once again feels like a system where it's not really fully realized, right? Like, there's plenty of opportunity for smoke and mirrors in regards to game development. I don't think like a backline simulation of the war taking place should have to be one of those. Not really, Dust. We're just kind of really just codex farming. That's literally it. Just codex farming. And doing a very poor job at it too, from just RNG sake.
Just what I need.
For those of you, I'm not sure how many of you have actually grinded the tower or grinded anything else in chat. My question is this. Did you just use a bunch of your reserves from playing to acquire all of this money?
Perfect as day as any.
Or did you actually like codex farm en masse? We're still working on the first upgrade, Duffs, so not very well. We're running into a credit problem. Yeah, I'm kind of like, is it just like codex farming? I guess I'm guessing when you get the AT mass, it's a lot easier, right? But before the AT mass, man, it is. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like, is there like literally any other way than doing it other than codex farming that's realistic? How much do you get yours in drone parts for? Like, how much do you get per kill? So is it like doing the... How much is a gun worth? Did they... Am I crazy? I don't remember them being this tanky before. I know I'm going for body shots, like, but I don't remember them being this tanky for body shots before. Oh, at that point, you're just better off doing water farming, Ramstein. Okay. Yeah, it sounds like you're doing, like... I feel like math-wise, all the ways you're mentioning are strictly unoptimal. Naturally, I'm not saying you shouldn't do what you're doing, right? But, like, I don't think they're, like, remotely even comparable to codex farming in regards to potential, like, income, right? I guess the question is this, right? We would need to figure out the exact amount of time it takes us to load in to Mesa, the chances of us actually getting like the actual proper scenario for mech deaths, and then like we basically need to weight the money we're making from codexes, right? Wouldn't that be a nice, Hayne? Wouldn't that be splendid? to be able to play the game and get the stuff you need to progress. Yes, Prometheus, the skirt issue is internal. Scorched, it feels like it's pretty similar to this. It's just different variants. Scorched is probably a bit quicker. The problem I have with Scorched is that it feels a bit higher risk just natively comparison to Mesa, because the areas where the mechs fight is much more open and shitty, and also the extract is really not great either. Like, tunnels can extract, like, it feels much more likely I'm willing to die to random chance, not just grabber HKs on Scorched than it is on this map. I'll still use Scorch occasionally to break up the monotony of spamming this, but I don't think it's as optimal.
Let's never do that again. Until the next time.
See, the Jarek, the problem with that though is that insinuates that there is some back-end logic controlling when mechs get deployed. I am willing to bet literal money on it that it is just a chance of a certain scenario happening when you spawn into a map, and that they flip those on or off depending. Like, Theaters of War is this. This is me. Okay, I have not done like the diving into the code, but from what I feel I know about them and what I've seen thus far, my theory is this. Maps have certain variations, both for like day shift, night shift, but also for spawns, right? And how those spawns happen are just flat probabilities, right? A certain chance of a certain outcome or scenario happening on a map. And all Theaters of War does is when you do stuff that interacts with Theaters of War, it turns on flags that modifies those probabilities. That's it. Full stop. It might change those probabilities to 0. It might make them more likely or less likely, but there is no back-end simulation, just switches. There is not the game being like a, hey, we're going to try to deploy Europa Media mechs here, but looking at the simulation, they don't have any in this area. It's more of a, hey, based on Theaters of War saying, you know, or, you know, based on Theaters of War, there's no additional changes. We roll a die, you roll a 5. To get mechs, it was a 6. So you don't see mechs. And that's how the game feels to me. I'm not sure if you guys feel the same, but that's how what they currently have in the game feels to me. It's how it's done. Let's go over to AK. Like, for example, on Scrapyard, right? When you blow up the bridge on Mesa, it flips a switch and then turns the probability of you seeing Cyborg spawn on that map to 0. Yeah, the only problem with mech GHK though is that's assuming that you have infinite grenade launcher ammo, which I do not. Like, actually, weirdly enough, Seth, one of the better ways of getting actual experience is actually farming codexes. Well, Revan, that's the beauty though, right?
We can break out.
Simulations can be very simple. Because... Hold on. All a simulation has to be is literally a chessboard with armies and like you can abstract your simulation so much that it's very performative, right? You don't have to simulate an actual RTS battle for your back-end layer, right? You can make it insanely simple, but still have it feel immersive as it's driving everything else.
Everyone for themselves.
Hold on, when we get back to the units, I'll show you what I mean, right?
Just what I need in my life. A reason.
Showing a few things on here.
As a scary Jellic head. I need time restored.
Well, Hex, I'm not saying that this is what they currently have right now. I am saying how easy it is to simulate a persistent war, right? Because you can abstract it so much. It does not have to be a literal RTS simulation, right? It doesn't have to be Hearts of Iron. Especially considering too, since you're a PvE game, you can just abstract to the point where like it only updates every hour, right? Or for example, if you get rid of the IRL timer, you can just have it literally be turns. That's fair. Once again, yeah, sarcasm doesn't really translate via text very well. Also, I have plenty of people who will drop in and drop genuine opinions, which you think can be sarcasm, but they're actually being genuine, and it can be a nightmare sometimes. An actual factual nightmare. Fucking drones. Yeah, I still like the vibes and the art, right? That's the only reason why I'm around. So, I mean, I'm not sure how many more FOMO, like... The problem I have is this, right? Is that I can see all of the puzzle pieces they put on the board, and I'm like, wouldn't this feel like it fits so much better in this particular way? Okay. Handling this happened before I got NDA, so I can talk about this. Okay. Back when I originally started communicating with Fundog, right? This was before the NDA, so I can talk about it, right? Because this was not privileged information.
Well, we're still here.
Um,
Count for something.
They seem to want to do this thing where they ask not for, like, traditionally, right, when I've worked with game developers, is they don't want to hear your ideas, right? They want to hear the problems that you've experienced in the game, right? Because they're the only ones who traditionally know the entire scope and the plans of the game, right? Like, they know the game they're making better than I could or anyone from the outside could, right? Because they're internal. They'd see all the things moving.
So that's fair. I understand that, right? So with other game developers, what I have done is I will present problems I find in the game, right? Like I will try to like figure out other problems people are having too, right? Like I will give them problems for them to fix, and they will be the ones to come up with solutions, right? Because they know their game the better. Fundog has been weird in the sense of they seem to want the solutions as opposed to the problem, right? Which by and of itself is a red flag. But I digress. I threw together lots of different solutions to different problems and put it onto a Miro board. For the people who are unfamiliar, Miro board is a whiteboard. Basically, to throw sticky notes up there, plans, things, lines. It's basically like visual documentation, sort of, kind of graphical documentation, as opposed to like writing one. It's mainly supposed to be digestible as opposed to very dense, right? And throughout this period of time, this is so foreign to me from working with other developers. I'm always checking in, basically like, is this useful? Like, do you guys actually need this? Is this good? Like give me feedback so I can I want to make sure what I'm providing you is actually impactful and useful, right? I don't want to be doing something just for the sake of doing something. I want to know it's actually helpful. And they gave the thumbs up for several months, to the point where I'm kind of feeling like what you're saying and what you're giving me is not honest, right? And eventually I understood what they were doing is what they wanted to be treated like, right? They want this, what's the right word of saying this? They just want fans. It's as simple as that. They just want fans. They want to make what they want to make, and they want to get the people who like it to give them applause, and the people who don't can fuck off. Like, full stop. Essentially, yeah. They're artists who want fans. Simple as that. And once I understood that, the way they were treating me in the mirror board made a lot of sense, because they weren't actually looking at it from more of like an actual like solutions or design or anything like that. They were looking at it in the sense of like hey, yeah, like he's doing this work. It looks like it's good work. Let's give him applause. Because that's what you're supposed to do, right? When I was actually asking for like constructive critique and like, hey, like let's work on this. Is this useful? Like, what do you guys need, if anything, right? Like I actually I give them off for I give them off ramps too, in the sense of like, if this is not useful, just tell me. And they never took that additional step, despite me inviting it in. Because I gotta understand too, some people are cagey about being negative, so you have to go out of your way to invite the negativity. I understand that. Some people, I've worked with younger people before, like I used to do IGLing and a little bit of coaching for Counter-Strike, and so I can know when it comes to like some more like cagey younger guys, you have the spectrum, right? You have the audacious, the more arrogant younger guys who are very stubborn, but then you also have the cagey guys too, who have the issue kind of voicing really anything, right? They're much more internal and reserved, and so you usually have to invite them in, and even that can be really fucking hard too. And it felt like much the latter. All right, 556. Once again, I am much more a fan of the IP than I am the game, though. I will say part of the reason why I stopped doing the more videos for now, and probably I'm not sure how long for right now it's gonna be the way it is, just because just for the main reason being in the sense of, as you can tell with my lore videos, I like to think logically and consistently, and knowing how they operate now on their side, I can't really take that into context with my deep dive videos anymore, right? If that makes sense. Like, think of it this way, right? if I'm thinking in a much more architectural and logical way, in my opinion, but they're designing their lore in a much more of like a of an art board, mood board sort of way, my speculations are almost always going to be wrong or are foundationally misplaced, right? All right, we'll buy. Why do you want to see Scav Girl so bad? There's plenty of other goon bait around. I mean, should and would are two entirely different things, but I think any extraction shooter should have an ending. Because, to be perfectly honest, I would not consider Arc Raiders to be an extraction shooter. Arc Raiders is a live service game. It has more in common with Rust than it does an extraction shooter.
Hey, watch my back.
But no, I by and large, I mean, you can do endings in this game that are cyclical in nature, right? You can have capstones. Yes, Tarkov does have the escape from Tarkov now, yes. So despite it being a multiplayer game, it does have an ending, a natural area where you can, like, finish the game and, you know, feel complete. Yeah, because Rust has... If you're unfamiliar with Rust, right? Rust has to wipe their game a lot, otherwise it gets stale, right? Is that literally what Arc Raiders is not fucking doing right now? With their unenforced but really kind of forced wipes? Think of it this way. If I... Is a weighted choice really a choice? It's not about how they play, though. How they play is arbitrary. It's about the systems and the behavior they promote. You have to... Okay, let's get on the same page here. While I escape. Think of games from a behavioral perspective, right? The reasons why you play them, right? Or why the way games influence your behavior. Because by and large, every game is just a reward loop, right? Now, they have little different switches they trigger to make you feel rewards, which is why they're different. But at their core, they are trying to reward your behavior. And so what Rust does is Rust is a fun game, but it gets insanely stale by design and lopsided, right? The rich get richer to the point where the rich are basically, by the game's design, just, you can't deal with them anymore. They've gotten ahead. They're so far ahead from everyone else, the playing field is no longer level. And Arc Raiders is kind of the same way, sort of, kind of. In the sense of, Arc Raiders has this issue in their game where it gets to a certain point where everything is stale at the end, right? You have grinded all there is to grind, you have run out of stuff to do, and it leans entirely upon its player versus player interactions, or player interactions to provide its longevity, right? But even that gets stale, right? It's pure RNG. And so from a system side, just like Rust does, they promote or enforce wipes. And promotion in the sense is what Arc does. They don't force it because they want to give you the illusion of choice, but by and large, the players are gonna wipe, right? Because you're giving them rewards for wiping.
Well, we're still here. Let's count for something.
Yes, that's the loop for every type of one of those games. It's. I'm not saying that everyone in Arc Creators wipes. I'm not playing it right now, or probably not for a long time. But like, water. Well, you know those. So the issue is this. So let's see how. I think water thieves isn't even like, so you're talking about basically, I think you're talking about, you were talking about water farming. So I think all of those quests give you, water farming? It feels like you're doing a few, like, so water thief quest lines for water farming, because it gives you 5 water, which essentially pays out 100k. Okay, think of it this way. If you were to strictly do water farming for all of the money you need in game, you would need 5,000 containers of water. If you were to do it, and that's the best way of doing it outside of codexes. So quest farming, what's it called? IFF farming. Every other farming is worse than water farming, which is technically worse than codex farming, but I think we're getting unlucky right now in regards to our spawns. Like, think of it this way. Let's see, 640k. This is like, what, 332? Sorry, 640k, I think this is 32. Divided by... yeah, 32. So every codex we get is worth farming 32 pieces of water. And to be fair, we're getting pretty unlucky right now, so we might even be at parity with that. But I feel like we're getting unlucky. So I guess the question is this: can you farm 32 containers of water faster than you can get 1 codex? Is the water 25? Okay, I forgot it was 21, 25. It does change the math a bit. Water is 25k, thank you. So 25 pieces of water. So if you cannot get a codex faster than can you farm 25 water, then and that puts you at parity. And once again, this is boring, but that's kind of the point, right? It's a grind for a grind's sake. It's artificially high numbers without the content to actually facilitate that. Thankfully, at least on the plus side, once you get the bar done and get the AT rifle, you can actually be much more aggressive in regards to getting codexes. On the plus side. The bar grind should definitely probably be the worst and least consistent, I imagine. You have to keep in mind too with water though, depending on where you're going to farm water, if it's not tunnels A, you are eating into your profits depending on where you're going. That is something you have to keep in mind too, is that you are paying water to go to locations to farm water.
Has our luck run out?
Alright, there's half the equation. What do you... So, Semblance, can you unpack your logic, please? I want to make sure I don't misread into what you're saying. Basically, you're not saying just to chase players for players' sake, right?
I think they spotted us. That's it for us.
They might die, they might not die. We'll just loot and see if they die or not.
The scare is delicate. It's time to sort. Oh, this is what it's all for.
Basically, the caution I'm raising, Semblance, is that chasing popularity as a means to an end is usually defeatist. I personally would abandon that notion of saving the game. I would more in the sense rather think of it as diversifying the IP, where a mediocre game doesn't mean its downfall. I think what we have here in this game is a product of a decade of essentially what was an off and on project for them. They now decided to go full time in without reworking those 10 years that they've been messing with it for. Essentially, I think that like this is a learning thing for them. And all I can really hope for is that they learn from, you know, they learn and grow. And that the IP isn't, the IP still exists after the game is what it is. Hello, Ground Chopper. Goodbye, Ground Chopper. I mean, I can't not try to ride it, right? Yeah, the mech might kill me though. Yep, just everything working normally. Informatic. Thanks. There's also semblance to like the trap too of like trying to attract more players in before the game is remotely ready. So like once again, I love EA games, so I'm used to a lot of bullshit. There are plenty of players who react vitriolically to early access pains. And rightfully so, right? Like, it's not a very well... Steam could probably do themselves a favor and like rehashing their early access system and giving games like different tiers of early access maybe. Something just to elucidate players on like what exactly they're buying into when they buy early access. Because the problem is that like there's too many games that will use early access as basically as a glorified like pre-launch beta. Which makes the games that actually truly use early access to innovate look like absolute dog shit. stuff. All right. There's the respawn, but they're trapped up there, so that works.
Whittle them down and we can break out.
Ow.
Eyes on us. Spread out.
Run Rome. Guess we're full. Yeah, we're full.
It's like Christmas came early. Now to open those presents.
Yeah, that was nice they did that at least, because like there was plenty of abandonware on Steam too. Let's see how much we made. I want to open you actually. Open all. These aren't worth enough, so they're not worth selling really. So you. All this new stuff is basically worth almost nothing in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, just not worth selling any of this stuff because it's just not worth a lot. And using some crafting. I did get some more weapons I can sell. I don't really need an SVD. I can sell the G36s. I can sell the Spazzes, to be honest, too. Sell the RSS. M60, yeah, I don't really need that. Pretty unsure, keep that. Sell the M16. Which, the rest of these are fine. I mean, I don't mind the water cost. The problem is the water cost doesn't really... Like, the reason for a water cost to exist, right, is to add some sunk cost into a map, right, before you even enter it. But the problem is the maps that have these sunk costs don't really have any extra reward, right? Like, I don't get anything cool or extra rewards for going to Cemetery or Babel, right? I don't get extra rewards for going to Stairway or Frozen Swamp. I don't get, like, Tunnel C and D, I get a little bit extra rewards too, for, like, I guess, chances of getting foam. I think they made Tunnel B pretty much equivalent, it seems like. The problem is like, it's like the Labs access keycard, right? The reason why the Labs access keycard existed was to offset the insane amount of loot into that map, right? Like you're paying, you know, 100k, 200k, 300k to get into a map that might give you millions in loot, but if you die, you have acquired a loss addition to your kit, right? So like, yeah, but the problem is like none of the maps really have that incentive. What do you define as base levels though? That's your personal definition. Why is Labs and Tarkov require an entry fee? Is it not considered a base level? Yeah, and I can accept it in that, right? I have no problems with that. It's the way they did tunnels, right? Like the core issue is the way they've done tunnels. $25 to 30 minutes to make 1 mil for water. Okay, what quests are you running and what is your input, right? Are you spamming tunnels A over and over again for water? Are you just doing that route? Are you just spamming tunnels A with gunhead with the rack? How are you making 1 mil every 30 minutes from just water alone? Because if you're saying like Elephant Mausoleum, right, or any other maps, you are having an input there too, like for example, fast travel drones. So it'd have to be Tunnel A. Yeah, the problem I have though, right, is do you want to watch a stream of that? Of me running for 3 hours? Finesse, what you're talking about though is running Frozen Swamp, which requires an input of a fast travel drone. I do not think that's the method he's talking about. That's ignoring the inputs. The only way I can agree with what he's talking about is if he's talking about Tunnel A farming. The way I understand it, and the way I probably think it's true too, water is a consistent treadmill. The actual codexes are a bit more feast or famine. It strictly depends on if you actually get the right setup on Ashen Mesa or Scorched Enclave if you do that instead. I also think, there's a quest, I know Water Wars gives you 5, but the one, oh, you get the return from Water Wars, fair. So it does pay for itself. I still don't think that's as efficient. Hold on, how much is Against One's Camp? I don't think all of those quests are really that much water though. I think you'll get auto-modded. I think YouTube stops you from posting links automatically. So Water Wars is 5 days of water, and it offsets the travel cost. Don't forget the part 2 about having to do the fucking quest lottery. God. There's Guys' 2. See, I usually like doing Elephant, because Elephant's very simple and easy and doesn't require any combat. The problem with Elephant, though, is it does have a net negative on drones. You will eventually run out of drones. That's 2. Do I even have Shifting Tide Part 2 actually unlocked on this account? I might not have Shifting Tide Part 2 unlocked on this account yet. But I can just do this. Is Shifting Tide Part 2 5 water or... Hold on. What's the reward? It's 1 water, so it's equivalent to this. Okay. Uh, 5, 2, 2, so 10 water, so 250k, plus a potential, oh, hold on, so regions, frozen swamp. So we make 10 water, we have to spend 6, so we net 4, plus the 8 from the rack if we get 8, so 12 water times 25. So we can make 300k a run. And it's self-perpetuating as long as you complete the quests. So 300k a run, assuming you can do these pretty quickly. Do you have your best time, Vanessa, on this? Like, what, 10, 15 minutes? Water Wars can be kind of a bitch, but... And it also assumes you get every single piece of water from probably the scav camp. And like you get like extra money from these too. It's, yeah, 300k plus some change. So once again, consistent. Oh, do you loot all the drones too? The other part is just like spamming Tunnels A, which has no entry fee. You don't get that much raw money from the quests. That's one of the issue with quests, is the quests don't give you any money. You get a motor with like worth like 2k. A recovery drone I actually think is worth actually quite a bit more. So I think you can sell the recovery drones. Yeah, 34k for the recovery drones. Yeah, that's traditionally how I understand the water farming, is just Tunnel A spam. It has no input. Because if you just do strict Tunnel A spam right, you're getting 8 water times, you know, you're getting 8 times 25. You're getting 200k, but it seems a lot quicker and doesn't have the input fee. So there's no risk. Because, like, once again, I mean, I'm sure if you get it down to a science, you can probably survive almost all, if not all, of your water thief raids or your water thief eliminations, but sometimes they can get hands. So while I wouldn't say it's 100%, it's, once you get used to it, it's probably close to 100%, like 95% or better. But there is a failed chance for that. I would say between the two, the Frozen Swamp one actually one seems more interesting. Okay, let's do a Frozen Swamp one and see how it goes. Mask Man. The problem I have with Frozen Swamp 2 is the area where you would traditionally fight those assholes. Actually, I have to run Bagman, I think, for this, for the rack. I'm not running Gunhead because I need healing. It's simple as that. It's much more engaging, but it's, I'm not gonna disagree that it's much more engaging. But it's like all things, right? Where if it's just the same thing ad nauseum, it still gets old. I need RPK, I think. RPK. 762 Aramaki. I'll have to go on some Outa for this, I think. There is a downside too. If you're doing the rack for water, you are limiting your looting by quite a bit, but it is what it is. Scavenger camp. I mean, if you're not doing the rack, you're kind of defeating the purpose of like doing water farming, I feel like. Yeah, but like if you don't bring the rack, this grind becomes actually terrible because 6 to 7 water is eating into most of your profit. That, because remember, you're paying 6 to 7 water on your entry fee, and so you're only netting like 4 to 5, or 3, like, yeah, 4 to 5, I think. If you actually, I mean, you still make the 3 from the equipment runner. Like, you are vastly reducing the amount of money you make if you don't bring in the rack. Now you can counterpoint with saying that if you're doing runs faster with Scav Girl, you can do them quicker, but you are still paying the entry fee a lot.
Keep cool and carry on.
But if you do tunnels though, right, Slayer, you are getting around the entry fee, but you are adding more time to the grind, right? Can you do it, Jarek, without actually having the, like, can you just, if you have the parts, can you do the quest? To be fair, I wouldn't do that, because if that sounds miserable to me to have to spam the quest log over and over again to get that quest to pop up. Oh, traditionally, this is why I don't like doing this quest Water Wars here, is because this fucking place is, like, miserably respawny sometimes. Well, Jared, the problem is the sense of you do have to, like, I really hate quest juggling, and I think I would lose my fucking mind if I had to send that page refreshing quests over and over again to turn it in. I hate you.
Makes his job every time.
Well, if you're doing Tunnel A, what you would actually do is you would do Gunhead with the rack, because Gunhead can sprint forever, so you kind of offset his little bit slower speed by infinite sprint. I mean, it always is, right? It just depends on if you have the mental fortitude to do something that monotonous for fucking hours for water farming.
Not too shabby.
Yeah, I don't really have a lot of space with this container, so like, gotta be a little bit careful. Let's go over to the right first. Yeah, we're already full. You know, I probably should have brought a drill for, not Water Wars, but the other one. So there's a chance that thing spawns inside a locked container. We can get our last 3 kills over here to the right.
Watch those firing arcs. Keep focused.
Yeah, and Gunhead's downside of not being able to heal is not an issue if you're just doing Tunnel A, because there's like no enemies in Tunnel A in the first place. So it's virtually just free. It's not really a downside to Gunhead in that capacity. Where are my water thieves at? Usually a patrol over here.
Same as
No worries. By and large, Radiac, stealth in this game is very wonky. Like, for example, like right now, I am being stealthy by actively avoiding that patrol, not by crouching and hiding behind a post. Like, your best ability to be stealthy in this game is by moving around and just avoiding enemies in the first place. But sometimes enemies are just going to be in the way, and you'll learn where those enemies are, right? And I'm not going to take the chance of just running by them sometimes. I'm just going to murder them. So it will come in time, but like, yeah, for the most part, there are going to be circumstances where you should just kill what's in front of you. Oh no, it's my internet's just dropped off. It's not great. I'll probably end the stream after this just because, yeah, it's 5 p.m. and sometimes it happens around 5 p.m. as everyone gets fucking online again. So it will be choppy this last bit. Unfortunately, it's just the internet being shitty. As it is. I needed to bring a drill, unfortunately. Yeah, so unfortunately, we don't have a drill, and we can't do this quest anymore, so that's always a fun part of this quest line. Note to self, requires drill. I forgot it, yeah. Yeah, but like, the problem is, biggest, is this is a whole point of like trying to do this efficiently for time. Like, not only did we not get a full rack worth of the water, if we wanted to go over to the lift, we could. Like, part of, like, doing a grind like this, I feel like, is just you do the loop and you move on. This feels like having to go out of the way to do all of these things. It doesn't feel like, it feels like a bunch of if statements of if X, then like do Y and Z. Yeah, it doesn't feel like something that's grindable. Or you can grind it, right? But like you're more of playing as opposed to farming money, which is perfectly fair, right? But it starts to get kind of, yeah.
I'm gonna sleep for a week.
Yeah, once again, apologies if it's being stuttery. I'm ending the stream basically here because the internet's shitting out and it's about time anyway. The 5 p.m. on a Friday, everyone fucking slam your bandwidth on the internet. I am aware the stream is lagging. I can see it too. I literally have zero control over it thanks to Spectrum and monopolies. Also, because we're at a -2, we get no money from this basically because we're not at our cap yet, so that's the fun part, is having to work up to the cap. Anyway, that's it for today, everyone. Thanks for watching. I'll be back sometime next week probably.